Hi traders, welcome to the live webinar here with Ultima EA, the first weekly webinar. So excited about that. Thank you for joining. Mislav and I welcome you, of course, to a webinar where we discuss a variety of things depending on a weekly basis, whether we just finished the month, whether we had any trades, your questions, of course, as well. So we wanted to do this so that we have a more easier way to communicate with you. We are getting a high volume of emails and questions, and it's quite a lot of work for us. So there's, we're not complaining. We just want to make it more efficient for all of us to get to a spot that things are just easier. So we thought that this webinar would be a great place for non-urgent questions like, are there any trades, or why are there not any trades? Those are not things that have to be answered right here, right now, usually. And those things we can discuss in a weekly basis, right? Of course, if there's something urgent, feel free to write urgent and let us know. Otherwise, if you think that it can wait to the webinar, please do, and please ask it here so that we just become more efficient in helping everyone with urgent matters, all right? Because if our inbox is very full, it's difficult to find the urgent ones. And see the difference if there's so many. Okay. We have a form. You can use that indeed, or if you want, you can of course always chat here. If you're not sure how to use that form, you feel free to use the chat as well. By the way, Mislav Nikolic, the creator of the Ultima EA, and I myself, the co-creator, are happy that we're going to look at Ultima EA in more detail together here. But I have to right away say off the bat, Mislav can't make it today nor next week, but hopefully he'll be around 2 weeks from now. And he can help and chime in and add his 2 cents in the chat box. All right. So for today, I wanted to talk a bit about trade setups, because we had a few days. I think Friday we didn't have a setup, yesterday, and so far today. So we noticed already a question or two about that. Okay, so that's something we want to discuss as the first thing, because that's something that often happens. So I'm going to give you a little bit more information about the system itself, so you can have a better idea about when there are trades and when there are not trades, so that you have a little bit more a feeling for the market and how it corresponds to that EA. And then we'll also, of course, take a look at your questions. Okay, so hang on, folks. This template is, by the way, has nothing to do with Ultima EA. Okay, first thing, this is my own SWOT template. I just randomly. Not randomly, but I'm just sharing what I'm looking at on MT4. Okay, it has nothing to do with Ultima EA. Let me state that clearly. But what I can tell you is that the Ultima EA does use, for instance, the 144 EMA, and it is traded on, for instance, the 50-minute chart, which we prefer. So if you're renting it, or if you're a profit share member, usually you'll be trading. Well, as a profit share model, you're trader, you're always trading the 50-minute chart. If you're renting, then you're probably also trading the 50-minute chart, because the Eurodollar 50-minute chart has proven to be the most effective and most rewarding. All right. So keep in mind that when we get new setups, there's a trend, a pullback, a continuation. This is a trend system. Okay. So if we get a reversal, that's a moment where we not get any setups. Okay. If we get a super strong trend without any pullback, we also don't have any setup. So we need to have that kind of more stable environment when there is a trend, a decent enough pullback that can go down to the 144 EMA, and then a continuation as well. Okay, so sometimes that environment doesn't appear for a couple of days. So don't be worried about that. And then sometimes it can happen that we have 3 days in a row with 2 setups, right? So it depends on how the market moves. In this case, as you can see, this is the 50-minute world. We're looking back the last 4 days or so, And as you can see, we had a trend, but we didn't have a pullback. Then we had a reversal, and we have a new trend, but we didn't have a pullback yet. So that's why you didn't see as many setups. Now, I have to say also that it all depends as well from broker to broker. We can't deny that, right? Because some cases, 1 pip could be the difference between whether that pullback is enough or too much. So, and then you might have a setup on one broker but not the other, because that tiny difference might actually have a difference or have an impact. Now, 1 or 2 setups being different, or even a few setups being different, is not going to impact, usually speaking, the long term. In the long term, these differences plus minus even out. Of course, there could be some differences in performance, but we don't expect them to be too much. Okay? Because we are using, it's the EA, it's automated trading system. So we are, the EA is looking at very precise levels. So literally 0.1 pip, could be the difference between a potential setup, a potential setup, second setup, or no setups, right? So that is a factor that you have to think about as well, that could explain some of the differences. So in this case, now you can maybe understand why we didn't have any setups yet, because we had a downtrend but no pullback. That turned into a reversal. Then we have an uptrend, but we don't have a pullback yet. Okay. So that's one of the reasons. Okay. One of the last setups, I think, was probably, I don't remember exactly, but I don't have it open at this moment. I can still do that, actually. Hang on, folks. In the meantime, I think somewhere in this area where you see we have a downtrend, pullback, and continuation. But let me check, because I don't want to say something that's incorrect that would just that would just give more questions. So let's hold on for that for the moment, and I'll open up a different MT4 to get some of the latest setups so we can take a look at those. But in the meantime, let me take a look at some of your questions, okay? Because that's actually the main reason. I will probably kick off with a small topic for 5-10 minutes, and that's it. It won't be a long webinar, and the rest is dedicated to your questions, okay? And we wanted to have it as efficient as possible. So, but regarding, why we have no trades, this is the first thing we wanted to explain, because it's actual, right? It's happening right now. We don't have a trade for a few days. It's about trend retracement and continuation. So just to repeat, if the trend is too strong, we can't get a trade. If there's no pullback, we can't get a trade, okay? And also keep in mind that whether there's a huge range or not, on a higher time frame, let's say on a 4-hour chart, there's a huge range, okay? It really doesn't matter that much on a 50-minute world, in the sense that, well, I mean, it could be that on a 50-minute world we have a not as good performance. So I mean, it does have some impact, but let me say it this way: it doesn't impact the number of trades. What is valid on a 50-minute world, what impacts the number of trades, is whether we have those conditions or not. We could have a huge uptrend on the 4-hour chart, but still have a lot of setups on the 50-minute world. We could have a range on the 4-hour chart, but not have that many setups on the 50-minute world, and vice versa. So number of setups is really not, this EA is not really about having a ton of setups, really. It's more about, that one trade a day, that in the long run gives the edge, 65% win rate. It's not really about having a ton of setups in this case. It's more about the profitability, and it's more of it's especially above all a long-term system where we want to have a 6 to 12 month review and evaluate the performance on that kind of level. Okay, I think that when you trade manually, you're looking at each trade very carefully. Did I make the right decisions? What do I do now, right? How do I handle it? Do I manage the trade? Am I breaking my rules? So you're very much into the trade, right? And with the EA, of course, it's a bit different, because you're letting the EA do everything. So I understand that traders are like, okay, I'll let the EA do that one trade, but then if you have a series of wins or losses, it could be difficult to handle that from a trading psychology point, right? So knowing more about it hopefully will help increase that confidence and allow you to look at the long term more carefully. Okay, so regarding the setups, let me see which one was the last one. There was no setup on the 12th of June, actually, not on the 3% account. 9th of June. Oh, wait, this is the 4-hour chart. Let me go back to the 15-minute chart. So this could vary. I mean, don't get me wrong, just because I had a trade 9th of June and 8th of June doesn't mean that you must have it as well, but I have to work with something. I have to show you something, and that's the 3% account, okay? So that was probably here, and 8th of June probably somewhere in here. Those worked out. Those didn't work out, actually, sorry, because price did go our way, but then reversed. And the trades before that all date from 2nd of June, where we had wins. Probably with this piece up, I guess. No, it's even before that. This piece up here, probably. All right. So probably this pullback was too deep. That's why I got invalidated. Same with this. And that's why we didn't have setups since then, I think. And we probably had 2 deep pullbacks, to be honest, in this piece. Okay, so that gives you an idea that the 144 EMA is important, because if it goes too deep or too shallow and misses the 144 EMA, we don't have that retracement. All right, so depending on account to account, I guess there will be more or less 4 trades in June. Not that many indeed, but it's just because in this case, trend is either reversing or the pullbacks are too deep or the pullbacks are too shallow. Okay. Now let's take a look at your questions, I guess. And let me share a different screen in the meantime. All right. So your first question in the chat box, your stop loss is at break even. My stop loss is, at a different spot. Trail stop loss. Why is that? Now, that is probably a question from a EA rental, because those that are profit sharing model, they should have the same trades, right? So if you have a different stop loss or trail stop loss, it is most likely because in our case the broker difference is just the difference that allows us to move the trail stop loss, and on your broker the price just missed that level. That's probably the only reason, because the trail stop loss is not activated soon. It's a very loose trail stop loss, only when price gets really close to the target, and we just hit that level that it was close enough to the target, but in your case your broker probably just missed it. Hi Chris, what are your projections for the results in June? I have no clue. So yeah, I have no projections because we don't know. We don't have, of course. How do I say it? We don't have a crystal ball. I don't want to be rude or something. It's just we cannot forecast that way, right? That's what I mean. That's how I want to say it. We cannot forecast in such a way that we have an expectation for a certain result. What we can do is, of course, look at the average and say, okay, this is what we've had the last 3 years. This is what we then on average get per month. And at the end of 1 year, if we reach our average per month, we should have that at the end of the year. But we never know, of course, what every specific month would do. At this moment, we don't know that. Maybe, just maybe, who knows? If we really get a deep learning computer and it could look at the results connected to the type of market environment and then recognize what type of market environment it is, it could maybe make a prediction. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Maybe, but that's not something that we are able to do at the moment. Also, with the broker I'm using, the spread for the euro dollar is 1, but I left it on 5 on the EA. Should I change it? So that's a EA rental question. You can determine what is the max spread. And that's just to make sure that you're not entering at a moment when the spread is really high. So I think 5 is fine. I think it's rarely going to happen that it's going to be that high. And if you don't want to miss any trades, because if you do it too low, you might miss some trades, of course, if the spread is too high. So if you don't want to miss any trades, I think anywhere between 3 and 5 or 2 and 5, well, probably 3 and 5. If you really don't want to miss any trade, 3 and 5 should be fine if the usual spread is 1. Okay, so that makes sense. All right. And then there's a question about the Telegram channel. I also saw that message stating that yesterday was a great day for profit share. It was sent on Monday. Of course, there was no trading on Sunday. So that was an error. It was forwarded and not edited. So I don't know, someone in our ECS team did that. I actually warned them about that they should change it, but our team didn't do that. So that is a mistake, basically. There was no trades. It was just a message that was resent again for some reason. Let me check why. Probably because of the technical issues that the channel's facing. That's the main message. And they probably wanted to promote the Ultima webinar again, but the message in the middle about the trades from yesterday is not relevant for that particular moment, okay? Because there were no trades. There were no trades. All right. Let me see if I can edit it maybe very quickly. Let me find the channel. Talking about ECS Forex channel now, the one that's free for everyone. Hang on. No, it's not ECS Forex. It's actually in the Ultima EA channel, excuse me. I misspoke. Let's see, there we go. I cannot edit it, but anyhow, it's incorrect. No trades on Sunday. Let's see if there are any other questions. Thank you, Ali. Appreciate that. And I am doing more testing on a 50-minute chart myself with SWAT Pro, seeing how it goes. Michelle is asking, will Telegram channel work for setups? We're not sure yet. Definitely Mislav is working on it, but it's not yet functional as far as I understood. There's some clash with the VPS, I believe. Mislav, I think, is working on it, but we'll have to see. I'm not 100% sure yet at this moment whether the Telegram channel will have those setups, but we are trying. Let's see. Ali's asking, can you please explain differences between red and blue Fibonacci levels? So the red ones are the targets for, this is the bullseye indicator, which is used in the Ultima EA as well. And the red levels indicate short targets, and the blue levels indicate long targets, so targets for long setups. And the red levels are targets for short setups. The calculations are done in the same way, based on Fibonacci swings and the zigzag indicator. Based on that indicator, the Fibonacci levels, the Fibonacci retracement is placed and levels are plotted. Let's see. What spread settings are you guys using in the EA? I'm not sure what we have actually with what Mislav has, but I've never heard him say that the trade was skipped or missed because of spread. So we can ask again 2 weeks from now when Mislav is in the webinar. He's not here today or next week. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But I don't think it's tight. I think the spread level is more like a cautionary measure. So it's not something to really like filter out trades. It's more just meant like, okay, if the spread were to widen suddenly to 50 pips, then you don't take it, right? Really crazy level, let's say, right? You never know how the market can spiral out of control sometimes, right? So that's why using something like 5 makes sense, because under normal circumstances, under your dollar with a normal broker, the spread, let's say, is not more than 2.5 pips. Let's say, all right. I mean, usually it's lower. Usually it could be 0, it could be half, it could be 1, it could be 1.5, but usually not more than 2.5, right? Nowadays, typically lower though, to be honest. But okay. So anyhow, if you use 5, then it should, under all normal circumstances, not filter out and stop the trades, right? But if the market were to spiral out of control, it might be more than 5. If it's 20, you might not want to take that trade. All right, so that's the reason, that's the idea of that. Do you hear me? Okay, great. Let's see. Brian is happy. Results are positive. That's good. And anyone who isn't in that spot yet, because you know how it goes. Those that started in January, February, are happy, even though there could be weeks where their account doesn't go much ahead, or there's a drawdown. They're still happy because we had really amazing February with more than 200%. So they're patient, but then you get a new wave of traders that start after that, and obviously, of course, they didn't have that experience and didn't have that result. So it's and then it's more difficult, of course, if the account is not moving forward. Patience is more difficult, but that's why we always try to emphasize as much as we can that a 6 to 12 month framework is the best. But yeah, of course, it's easier to have that view if you, of course, went through a February, for instance, like we had this year. When I start the back test and when it finishes, there's EMA and different look. Yes, I think it's okay if you start the EA and there's no template. I think if I remember correctly, I have the same. The template appears when you finish the EA, indeed, if I remember correctly. No, it's actually should be fine. One trade since June 10. I actually had no trades since June 10, so but that can happen, those differences. Rob, if you want, you can share the detail of that trade. I can double check, but let me check the other accounts here. Mislav has history. I cannot show Mislav's history. Anyhow, yes, we didn't have any trades recently, as I explained at the beginning, because of the fact that there is a reversal, or if there's a trend, the pullback was too shallow or too deep. So the criteria just didn't get met. So we don't have many setups in June, indeed, so far. That is correct. All right, now we're going to look at the Google Doc template. So I will not see your chats now for the moment. Yes, the opening of trades at, I mean, having a trade open with a big profit and then seeing less profit closed, or even turning into a full loss or partial loss. No, full loss probably. Those things can happen indeed, because the EA doesn't look at a trade-to-trade basis. It looks at the equity, the expectation, getting the max out of the system. Looking at years. So if we were to change things for a few trades, it seriously, in the long run, reduces the profit potential when backtesting, at least. So that's why it does that. All right, now let me take a look at the form. In the meantime, yeah, you can see here, June, this account is up slightly, 5.8. Last month was 25. This is the 3% account. Break even before plus 10 and then plus 90. The 5% account is here. It had a drawdown, then a spike up, and now having a small drawdown as well. It's 2% last month, 39, then 8, then minus 0.3, then 217. And profit share module account here at plus 67 at the moment. That started mid-April, 2 months now. And then one of our renters, now 45 at the moment. So that's the update at the moment. Misaf's account is slightly negative this month because he missed some of those wins at the beginning because of changes he was doing to his own to the VPS or something like that. I think he missed those trades. So that is unfortunate for him, but it's not representative of the system. It's just that he missed it because of testing, I think. All right, now looking at other setups. There is a question. Okay, so there's a trade, an entry, a buy, and my EA never took this trade. So in most cases, it's because of broker differences. Small broker differences can create differences in trades. However, if you see that we had a couple of trades that you didn't have, so with one trade, it should be fine. But if we had like 3 to 5 trades and you didn't have any or just one, then that would be the moment to reach out to us and ask what's going on. But if one trade is different, it really, it's I don't think it's worth your time nor our time, because it can really happen based on broker easily. One trade can definitely happen. Okay. Regarding the profit share percentages, I see a question from Claudia, and so let me clarify. When we talk about the profit share model, we're looking at the net deposits, which means that we're looking at the deposits, and also with basically, if you get, or let me say it this way, if you have more than 10,000 euro capital, you will get a better profit share percentage, not 30 but 25. That remains valid, okay, as long as your deposits remain above 10K. What you can't do, let me say it this way, is you cannot let's say you invest 5,000, the account grows to 15,000, you withdraw the profit, which is 10,000, and then add the 10,000 again to your account, and then claim that you have invested 15,000 to get a better percentage. That's something that you cannot do, because then we look at both deposits and withdrawals, and we would see 20,000 minus 15, which is still 5,000. Right? So you cannot withdraw and add to improve that percentage. Okay, that's because it's the profit from the system. What you can do is add capital. So if you're at 15,000 and you were to deposit another 5, well, then you have a net deposit of 10, and you will get the better percentage. Okay. Also, if you invest at 10 and you have the better percentage and you're withdrawing the profits, that's okay. You will keep the 25%, as long as your net deposit remains, as long as you still trade with 10K. So I'm not sure, Claudia, if how much you deposited. If you deposited 5K, the 25% was valid for June. If it was 10K, it should be valid for continuously, right? So let me know, how much I don't remember how much you invested. If there's a mistake and it should be 25%, then we'll definitely correct that. Okay, let me know, or let us know. Next question, although your dollar has somewhat left its range, Ultima EA has been opening up less positions than it was when it was ranging. So yeah, that's actually the question. One of the questions that inspired me to start with this webinar topic about explaining how the EA system works a little bit in more detail. So I went into that at the beginning, so I will not repeat that again. Hi, yesterday was stated in the Telegram channel, okay, that we also covered. And for the last euro dollar EA trade, dated 10th of June, position was stopped out by stop running. Price dropped to 113. Yes. Let's see. That sounds familiar indeed. I think that. Let me open up my other MT4 because I think I had the trade on that account actually. Hang on. So on the 10th of June, price dropped to 113.21, taking out the stop loss at 113.24, then recovered. Is the Ultima EA stop loss hidden? I don't think the stop loss is hidden, but I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so. But the pending order to enter is hidden or can be hidden. I think that's automatic with the rental. I'm not 100% sure, but they are stealth orders, and it's definitely a possibility, and I think it's the default. Okay, I'm opening up my other account just to check June, and there I did have a trade on June 10th. So anyone who had a trade on June 10th, don't worry, I had it on the other account, my own account, which is this 5% one. All right, the 3% one is a common account. We didn't have it there, so you can see that there are differences, but with the 5% account, I did have it indeed. All right. Let's see if any other questions I missed. Three losing trades. Let me check. It is possible. I had June started with 2 wins. Yes, and then 3 losses. Correct. We had 2 wins actually since mid-May. On my own personal account, there were 8 wins and 1 losses from mid-May to beginning June. That's why we had this move up, this big spike. Okay, that was 8 wins out of 9 trades, and then we had 3 losses indeed on this account. On this account, there were 2 losses, and you see 8 wins out of 9, and then 2 losses here. 8 wins out of 9, and then 3 losses. So yeah, that there is a 65% win rate, but streaks, like any system, do occur. But the good thing is that the streaks are typically small. Now you might think, oh, my, three losses is quite a lot, and I understand that. But that said, three losses in the long run is not that much. That's one of the reasons why, because it has such a low losing streak, or small losing streak, in fact, why we personally are confident enough to trade it with 5% risk, and the drawdown remains, historically speaking, at 50% max, is because those losing streaks are not that bad. If the losing streaks were more, we would never be able to trade with such a risk. In fact, I'm testing other EAs, and together with our programmer or not our programmer, I mean a programmer, a trader that helps us out, Carlos, and has a also very interesting EA that he presented, and we're going to start trading that too. But it's to give you an idea, with half the risk, 2.5%, it's the same drawdown. So it's really those are of course just two EAs, and I'm sure that there are a ton of others that to get more comparison. The other EA is good results, but the risk has to be smaller by half, and to get the same drawdown. So that just shows you that the losing streak here is small. Now that said, that doesn't mean, of course, that we cannot have losses. We had losses actually here, even 7 in a row, which created this drawdown, of course. So those unfortunately at times do happen. But that's part of trading, of course. All right, Claudio will write the email. That's great. And I want to ask why my trade was different from the posted statement. I do not have a trading stop. When you have a different trail, if it happens once, it's probably because of broker differences. If it happens more often, if it happens the second time in a short history, then reach out to us. But once, it could be because of just price differences with brokers. Why did we leave FXDD and switch to Key2 Markets? Well, FXDD, with the support staff in English, was understaffed, and things were therefore slow. Now, nothing against FXDD because of that, but it was just, from both our perspectives, it was too difficult. So FXDD has more support staff in other languages. So yeah, that was just better. And Key2 Markets is very fast in that, very fast support, very good ratings. We had good feedback from other traders, good ratings on FPA. So that's why we chose Key2 Markets. But the reason why we left FXDD is English staff, support, and speed. And that's why we chose Key2 Markets, because of good ratings and good experiences. Is it possible to open up Telegram channel when EA opens trade? Yes, we're working on that, but it's creating some problems with the EA. So that's something that needs to be solved. Hopefully, it can be solved. There is a Telegram channel for the EA, but it's only for members. So this webinar is open to everyone, even if you're not a member, because feel free to join and see if it's something for you. But the Telegram channel is only for renters and profit share traders. And last question, I recently paid for rental 1 year plus. I cannot see an EA set up on my MT4. I'm not sure with your question. If you see trades and you didn't trade them yourself, then they're not manual trades. Manual trades is only you would be able to do that, or anyone who has access to your account, of course, could do that. Those are manual trades. If there are trades on your MT4 that you did not take, then those, and you're not running any other EA, of course, hopefully you're not, then those are from Ultima EA. There have indeed been 3 setups that were losses recently, correct? Small drawdown after a win streak here, 8 out of 9. And no trade ups since the 10th of June. So that is correct. And Joe is asking if myself, if there are any plans to launch a SWAT-based EA. Yes, they are. In fact, SWAT and CAMACD EA-based EAs we're working on. And one is actually finished, and we're going to live trade based on CAMACD. And we're working on more, but we're working, first of all, actually on a software program that will allow us to test more ideas quicker and with more depth than just manually testing one idea at a time, which is a very intensive, very long process. So we're working on the infrastructure to do a lot of testing quicker with more depth and quality first. And once we have that, then we can really test quicker. So that's the first step. So yeah, we don't know. It depends. Really difficult to say. Oh, the first EA, I don't know how much of live testing we want, really. We didn't talk about it yet. I think at least a few weeks at the very minimum. There is 10 years of back testing, so that's really a lot and very sturdy. So I don't think it necessarily need to wait a year or 6 or 12 months before it's ready. I think just a few weeks could be enough because it has such a lengthy back testing of 10 years. Of course, it's always risky, but trading is risky, so that's for every trader to decide. And are there plans to launch other currencies for Ultima? I think that yes, but at this moment, Mislav has enough on his plate with the new version for the renters, with the VPS, with Telegram channel. But I think when that settles down, maybe I think that was something he wanted to look into. But yeah, there are, unfortunately, his list is quite long at the moment. So, but yeah, at this point, your dollar definitely had the best. So, you're not missing much probably with other currencies. It also has the lowest cost as well in terms of spread. All right, folks, that's it for now. Thank you for joining, and wish you all good trading, and we'll be back next week. Cheers, bye-bye.